Are we live? There we are. Okay. Yes. Now we can say, hi, Silly Lily.
Hi, Silly Lily.
Welcome to this week's episode of Chiropractic is Sexy. I'm Dr. Paula Ruffin.
I'm Dr. Erica Peabody. Happy to be here again with you to, circle the healthcare conversation and making sure that we're spreading it far and wide outside of the four walls of our offices. So, and yes, I love this extreme close-up. I really do.
I know it's so much better, isn't it?
It does have a nice, it's a nice visual to it.
Yeah, I think it's way better. It's way better. So we have been talking about so many things related to our topic today. In fact, I know we dove into the whole Tylenol Advil issue and how people just, wildly, just so commonly just walk into a store, pick up a bottle of something from over the counter and assume it's safety. And in last week's episode, we really drilled down into really having this conversation with yourself about why is it happening? You have to ask yourself, why are you taking that every single day? It's not okay. And so we're going to dive a little bit deeper today into the symptoms, which I prefer to call them signals, because I feel like the word symptom has become very diluted and that we're able to have symptoms with no problem because then we can just take an over the counter. But what if those symptoms were actually signals that your body is struggling and it needs something deeper? And that's what we're going to get into today.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about that, but also that the body is never making a mistake, which we've said so many times. And that what if we start this premise of the body's never making a mistake? And then, okay, if it's never making a mistake, then a symptom / signal, which I really love that word, is your check engine lights on. And we all know, I don't know if for those of you listening out there, if your check engine light came on, how many days would you wait? How many days would you wait to make an appointment? You would probably make an appointment within 3 days is what I'm thinking. Within 72 hours, I bet you're on the phone making an appointment.
Or that day. Maybe not getting in.
I'm just saying, longest would be, you would tend to that check engine light within the first 2 to 3 days. So if your check engine light is coming on in your body and your body's never making a mistake, we need to stop putting a piece of electrical tape over that check engine light by taking drugs or by taking something else in the way, alcohol or avoiding or whatever. It's always signaling like you need to pay attention, and it starts at a whisper and then it gets louder and louder and louder. And what we find in our offices is people often come because they have pain. So that is very common. We can accept that as chiropractors. However, they stay because their sinuses cleared up, they no longer have allergies, their digestive disturbance has resolved, they're getting pregnant inside of infertility situations, they're never getting sick ever again. Like, it's not just the pain, but the pain often brings people in, and we get that. We don't want to always own that. We would rather, with any symptom whatsoever, come to the chiropractor first, any signal whatsoever.
And going back to also what we were saying is that in the past recent episodes is that we're not curing the digestive issues. We are not curing the sinuses. Our jobs, you come to us for pain, but our jobs are to figure out what is malfunctioning in your body. Why is your nervous system so dysfunctional that it is creating pain? And so when we correct that pain, that dysregulation in the spine, your brain and your body communicate better, and it increases your personal ability to heal. And so that's the cool part about it. And this whole thing about when you ignore symptoms, I have a patient, relatively recently new patient, and he came in and he's got pain and weakness in his and numbness in his left arm. Now, not tingling. So we are trained to do an examination to determine how deep is the irritation on the nerve. So we do reflexes. Okay, do the reflexes bounce in the upper extremities? Well, he's got a weak reflex in there. Now, a weak reflex is also a signal that this has been going on a really long time. Because so typically what will happen is you'll get the tension, you might get stiffness in the neck. But what first happens, and he's a martial arts guy, he's been doing it for 20 years. He's like, oh yeah, we get pretty serious. And oh yeah, like he's like injury after injury after injury. And if you don't pay attention to that and get to the source before it starts creating symptoms or signals, it gets worse. Mm-hmm. So then the first thing would be, okay, I've had this intense thing happening. I should go get checked. If you miss that, then it's, okay, I'm having stiffness. Then I'm having pain. Now it's going down the arm and you might get numbness and tingling. But then the next thing is weakness. And then the next thing is you lose that reflex. And for him, he's lost the reflex and he's lost sensation. So that's different from tingling. Tingling, you still feel, if I touch you, you still feel that. But loss of sensation is you can't feel that. That is a sign, a signal that has been there a really, really long time. And I had to share that with him. I said, I'm sorry, this is not, like, you've been ignoring this for a really long time. And he said, yes, you're right, I have.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, any numbness, tingling, especially numbness, like this is, even if the numbness all of a sudden happened, numbness is an advanced, I would say this is an advanced,
yes.
Advanced symptom. Mm-hmm. So mm-hmm. There's been a lot going on for a long, long period of time. And now the body's like, whoop, we're just going to check out. We've been trying to tell you something. We've been sending the signals. And now we're super far down the path. I want to share a little story of this morning of a reevaluation I did after 12 visits. So this guy comes in, he's got an 8 to 9 and sciatic nerve pain when he comes in. He also had neck tension and shoulders. And so we've adjusted him. We've had 12 visits, 13 actually, because he had the initial visit. And we sat down today and he's like, I'm at a 2-3. Some days I feel amazing. I'm able to walk again. I'm able to, like, I don't even have to think about my shoulder. My neck is so much better. And I'm like, okay, awesome. Like, all we have done is just adjust. But an 8 to 9 sciatic nerve pain to start is like, you are going to be potentially, to get through the days, downing bottles of who knows what, NSAID or other medication. Thank goodness he made it here, because he is ready to dance next weekend at his only daughter's wedding. Like that. And also he made a ton of lifestyle changes. He's lost 15 pounds so far. He's got, another bit to go, but it's really awesome when I sit down and do the evaluation of reeval, which is like, where are we? We didn't talk about all these symptoms every single visit you're in, because I'm not going to chase around my right shoulder this and my left blah, 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 this and whatever. Let me check your spine. Let me set you free. And I said, there's a reason I do this, is because I'm trusting the process and I'm trusting the healing ability of the body. And I'm letting it know it's safe to do that now. It doesn't have to hold this in this torque position. And I loved it because he's like, oh my gosh, I can actually see like now how we get over to the next level, which is like, okay, because the wedding is next weekend, not this, but next, twice a week again next week, twice a week after that to recover, and then down to once a week for the rest of the summer. Not the next 2-3 weeks, the rest of the summer. And then we move into every other week. And that's where I want to maintain us forevermore for the rest of life,
mm-hmm.
the rest of your life. And it's a great way. It's a small contribution and it's a small investment into huge payoffs down the line. And I just loved being able to just kind of walk him down this first 6 weeks and now get to a point where it's like, okay, where are we now? What questions do you have? This is where we started. I've got your initial paperwork in front of me. It was awesome because people are really getting it. Let's be well.
Yeah, let's stop ignoring the signals and get you your life back. And
Yeah.
this was I was on the phone with my daughter right before we went live. She's got a good friend of hers that she graduated high school with. So we're talking 21 years old. And this girl is struggling with IBS or IBD. I don't know. And one of the questions she said was she wanted me to ask you if you treat IBS or IBD. And I go, there's no difference. I go, it's a different cluster of symptoms. And I said that the answer is it's all dysregulation. It's all gut repair. And my daughter, because she knows this whole, sister, she's me, she's a mini me. She asks her friend, she said, has anybody ever checked your gut? Have you been checked for food sensitivities? And her friend said, no, never. And her friends been dealing with this for years, seeing all the top specialists. And yet the specialists give no credence to what is your diet like? How do we actually repair it? But they keep doing colonoscopies on her to the tune of $10,000 and each. And she's a college student. Like, it's crazy to me out there. And that if we could just get people, give them the resources of how to repair, because the unfortunate part is so many people are like her friend that are walking around with the symptoms, knowing that they're major signals, but they have not been given options other than what's inside of that medical box that does nothing more than keep her in that system. And they want to do chemotherapy now on her for the rest of her life for this thing. And it's like,
20.
She's 21 years old. Like, that's not an answer.
That's not an answer.
Not an answer.
No.
So I'm going to jump on a call with her this weekend. And she's like, she's like, she's a broke college student. I'm like, honey, I will talk to I will help your friend. Like, we're doing what we need to do. She's a young girl. I don't want her ending up like my people with the neurodegenerative issues who all have had gut issues their whole lives. Let's not do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just running rampant out there. I'm just thinking about that $10,000 bill that you think about for a colonoscopy, and just that would be like 2 to 3 years of really exceptional chiropractic care weekly or every other week. Like that would be, you would go far with that money if it was spent towards just light and easy regular adjusting. And would it solve everything? I mean, there's probably a lot going on with that one for sure. But yeah, it's the signals that we cannot continue to ignore. But it's also, you've got to look towards better answers than just taking medication. Chemotherapy from 21 years till 81? So what, you got 60 years of chemotherapy to do?
If she gets that far.
No, thanks.
Without something else.
No, it's like and all the medications that are out there are just, so turn your hearing aids up, non-lethal doses of lethal chemicals. There you have it. Let's not do that. Non-lethal doses of lethal chemicals. We all know you could, there's a lot of people that would poison themselves with whatever. And even last week, we were talking about kidney failure coming from just taking ibuprofen multiple times a day for an extended period of time because of pain, because of the spine, because of the torsion in the spine. And she was leading towards kidney failure. Like, none of this is okay anymore. That is even ibuprofen can be a lethal chemical. So non-lethal doses of a lethal chemical. Let's not go towards that direction. And of course, chemo is so destructive to the body. Absolutely. It's destructive to absolutely everything.
Well, we shared last week also about asking better questions. And so if you are somebody who you just don't know and you're wandering around like my daughter's friend, or like so many people we know, every single one of us within earshot, we can reach out and touch someone who we know is walking around going, I feel like crap, but I've been told everything's fine. Like, we all have heard that story, and that's not okay. And so even if they are not offered the resources, the root cause resources or root cause information, we want to empower you to ask better questions. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to ask questions. Is there any other treatment? What about food? What about chemicals? Could it be mold in my house? I mean, there's so many questions that we can ask, but if something doesn't feel right to you, if there's an inkling, or you're like, well, they say this is my only option, that's a big red flag. It is not your only option. So not your only option. I was sharing with Dr. Erica before we got on, I'm hoping to see a good friend of mine. He is supposedly dying of colon cancer. They sent him home last summer. He refused chemo. He's like, I don't want chemo. That stuff's going to kill me. He was supposed to die. And the hospice nurses keep trying to figure out why he's not dying. Because he's doing a lot of things holistically to fight this thing off. Like but he knew enough to ask questions, and he's asked me, and he does a lot of research. So it's important to ask different questions, ask better questions. And again, you don't have to be the expert at it, but you are the expert at your own health and what you think you deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. That is wild. I have one of my mentors, he found out that his body was riddled with blood clots. Like his whole body was beginning to clot. And so he decided that he would stop eating and drinking in July 2 years ago. And he just would stop. And he was getting towards the end of life anyway, and whatever. So anyway, that was his choice. So he stopped doing eating and drinking, and he got better.
Yeah.
They're like 21, 22, 23 days into this, and he's like, his health is increasing because he's given his body obviously a chance to rest. It did end up that he has passed away since, but yeah, there's a lot of things. And I was just talking to my last patient that was on the table. She's been dealing with severe gut stuff for a very long time, way beyond before she came here. For 5 years. She's been here for maybe like 8 or 9 months now. And she's just in severe fight or flight just because of the situation in her world that she's in. And anyway, it's just like it all builds up. And I'm like, are you like, what are you doing to change like lifestyle? And are you doing any like intermittent fasting or whatever? And there's so many ways to help our bodies that are not told to us. And our bodies are wildly more capable of healing than anyone has ever led you and let you believe. And as chiropractors, we believe.
Yeah.
You have an egg and sperm come together. I've had this conversation twice this week with moms that are so concerned that their daughters' bodies are not doing what they're supposed to do as a 2-week-old, and then now as a 1-year-old for a different patient. And I'm like, let the egg and sperm that came together and made this thing, let the infinite wisdom that did that we could never figure out in 1 million years, let that system run right.
Yeah. Yeah. Give it the power that it needs. But this is, I think, the world that has been conditioned. Well, we've been conditioned, not us, but you guys out there, which is why we're here talking to you, is that we have been conditioned to think that if we have a symptom, we can take a pill and we can get rid of it. And I have another, she was relatively new, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, struggling, just super struggling. I may have told this story a couple of weeks ago, but I'll tell it again. And she's like, I feel terrible. I feel like this is my destiny. She's 60 years old. She's like, she had a bunch of energy. Now she doesn't. She has zero libido. She's like, yeah, I don't know. That left the train station a million years ago. She wants to get her life back. And so she, again, went back into the Wayback Machine, and guess what she's had all her life? Digestive issues. Crazy. And so I start piecing it together, and she's been on acid blockers. And I'm like, you can't be on acid blockers and expect something good to happen from your body. You're shutting down your body's ability to break down and absorb key nutrients for your brain and your hormones and your whole gut health. And so I sent her the write-up of what my recommendations are. And, you know, it included chiropractic and it included elimination diet, doing some detox work, some gut repair. It wasn't over the top, you guys. It was not, I promise. Some patients I'm over the top with, but this wasn't, because I knew I had to come in a little bit more gently with her. And she replied back in the email and she said, wow, that's a lot. And I replied back and I said, it's actually not. It's just different than what you're used to. This is not give you a pill, a magic pill potion for what you have going on. Mm-hmm. It's going to require a time commitment. It requires a financial commitment, and it requires you to change some things that you're already doing. So it feels like a lot, but it's what you need. And it's very different from what you've been conditioned to thinking that you need. And everything, every step she took was like, oh, I got digestive issues. I'm going to take this. Or I have a skin issue. Put this cream on. I got this. We have to be done with I get a symptom, I take a thing or do a thing. We got to be done with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's health comes from within. There was so many things I was thinking as you were talking about that, but sort of rolling it all the way back to the nervous system is controlling, coordinating all of it. And the more we can do that lines up with the natural laws of the body, there's no shortcut. That would be the way. It would literally, like, I had a patient and I've been chatting with a group, our mastermind group, which Dr. Paula and I are in together. And since November, she had lost 50 pounds. And so she came in, but she's done it through semaglutide of some sort. I'm not sure which one, but anyway, a GLP-1. And so she was like, you know, I lost 50 pounds, but my body hurts. Like, I thought my joints would be happier and my knees and my hips and all the things would be happier if I lost that weight, which in one respect is actually true. So if you can do lifestyle changes that can drop 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 extra pounds off the joints. Our joints are going to last us longer. Yes. However, it wasn't through lifestyle choices and changes. It was through changing the chemistry of the body, not moving the body. Eat well, move well, think well, drink your water, get your rest, get adjusted. It wasn't through those things. It was through altering the chemistry, which makes everything so much worse. So much worse. So when I say there's no shortcut, it would be the way. That would actually be the way to do it, to do it in a healthy way. And so anyway, just rolling all the way back to the body is now her body has all kinds of signals, but now she's reading them wrong. Like, I thought taking the weight off would make my joints happier. True story, except for it's the chemistry that made a disaster.
Yeah. I call that metabolic fitness.
Yeah.
And that when you have excess weight on your body, first of all, that's a signal. And when you have excess weight, oftentimes it's a toxic load issue. Because if the body can't safely get rid of toxins, and that's a liver and a gut issue and a kidney issue, if the body can't safely remove toxins, it has to store it in long-term storage. And long-term storage is fat. And guess what? The more metabolically unfit you are, the more your body's going to store toxins, the more it's going to want to hang on fat as well as produce more fat for more storage. So now you go and you artificially lose weight. And I say artificially because you haven't improved your gut health, you haven't improved your liver, you haven't improved your kidneys, you've improved nothing about getting these toxins out of the body. So now they've been liberated and they're just going to stay there in the bloodstream and create a slew of inflammatory cascades that you're going to feel it in your joints. You're going to feel it in your brain. It's going to disrupt your sleep. It's going to create fatigue. You haven't given your body a safe way to get the toxins out. The fat's gone, but the toxins remain. So that's a key thing in making sure that you have to start thinking about metabolic fitness and not just I'm fat and I want to lose weight. It's a whole different conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's not only just that. You haven't even only lost fat, like you've lost mass, because it's also included muscle mass and, who knows what else, but it's the chemical alteration that's not good. So then when we come back all the way back around to eat well, when we know what to eat, move your body, like to move the body is one of the greatest ways to get rid of toxins. It's the greatest ways to get the blood flowing, which is carrying the toxins. Drink your water, great detox. Get your rest. That's where our body resets completely. Get adjusted also decreases toxic load and so many other things. So yeah, there's no shortcut. It would be the way. There's no symptoms or signals that your body has given you that are mistakes ever. We're not built like that. It's not how it works. Mm-hmm. But the world, you've got to turn the TV off. You've got to turn off the messaging that is telling you that is what solves it. And it's a true catastrophe that the messaging and the money makers behind the messaging are so powerful that way, because they're grabbing a hold of not just the adults, but the kids too. So
targeting, literally targeting.
Yeah.
I love this. We look at nutrient dense foods like bone marrow and liver unfavorably. We used to fight for the marrow when I was a kid. We ate liver all the time because we were poor and it was cheap. It was a cheap way to get a good meal, but we didn't, that was not the intention. But I look back and I'm like, yeah, my mom just knew, yeah, we're going to eat chicken livers tonight because they're cheap. She just wanted to feed us a good meal. So it's really amazing when you're raised on, I'll call it peasant food, but now it's like
some of that is like a true multivitamin. I mean, like you can make food your actual multivitamin, and those kinds of things are just powerhouses. So
I will say, before I forget, one of the greatest signals that everyone should pay attention to is if you haven't hit the thumbs up button and if you haven't subscribed to our channel, that could cost you, just saying. So make sure you're crossing all the channels. My channel, Dr. Paula Ruffin, Chiropractic is Sexy. It's all about the biology, and Dr. Erica Peabody in all the places. Because yes, there's no over-the-counter that solves that problem. You just have to give it a click.
Thank you for
Lily
being
says
here.
The liver holds on to so much, including anger, which is stored. Yes, we've talked about thoughts and traumas. Keep your liver healthy and you are well on your way to maintaining your overall health. It is amazing what gets stored in our tissues. So let thy food be thy medicine, and thy medicine be thy food was the ancient axiom. And it's so true. Medicine or food can either heal you or harm you. And when you are looking at anything you're eating or drinking, that is a question you need to ask yourself. However, if you are also taking things like pharmaceuticals over the counter, you should ask yourself, is this going to ultimately heal me or is it going to harm me? And if you can say, you might not know it's going to harm you, but we've talked about how, yes, it will, that it's in a very small dose. It's a non-lethal dose, but can be very lethal in the long run. But when you are doing that, you want to say, oh, it's not going to heal me. It's just going to mask you. Somebody earlier in the chat said something about masking symptoms. That's all it's doing. Mm-hmm. And we can't do that and expect long-term great health and optimization. And the only thing that does that is chiropractic care to optimize. That is the first step.
Love it. It's probably a good time to.
So we're gonna cut it here because I'm gonna go visit my friend who's supposed to be dying and never has.
Not dying.
Not dying. So we love that for him. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much for being here each and every week. And again, hit the thumbs up button on the way out if you didn't hit it on the way in. And we will see you next week on another episode of Chiropractic is Sexy. You guys are amazing. See you soon.